Cool. Okay, we're good. Sawa. Without further ado, I shall introduce our speaker for today. This is Mike Thotho. Cool guy. Programs manager at your profile right now. Sorry, today. Good, that is perfect. Meipata. Sawa. So this is Michael for everybody. He's a programs manager at Centonomy Ltd. Like I said before, a really cool guy. He taught me 2 units in Centonomy Campus Edition. He's an excellent trainer, a graduate of business administration at USIU, and currently I think doing his MBA. Also just generally an all-round cool guy with very many cool references and cool stories. So we are pleased to have you here today to talk us through the recruitment process and all of that kind of stuff. So karibu sana, Mike.
Right. Thank you so much, Ricky. But now, thank you for the introduction. Lakini sasa wacha ni complain kidogo. Yani, I'm seeing this poster for the first time. Yani, I know it's so fire. Yani, hey.
This is Ricky Nderito. Is he in the chat?
Shout out Ricky. Shout out Ricky. Ricky, this is your job. Fantastic. You guys. Na post Abu nitumie kwa email yangu ni post saizi after hii session na post LinkedIn. Ricky. Fantastic. Nacheki Ricky ako around.
Yeah.
All right, great. Nice. Let me see who else is in the room. There will be some guys on Tuesday, JQuat. I hope some are here as well. All right, great. Now, Jerome.
Yes, I give you the permission.
Do the thing is. Right, there we go.
Perfect.
All right, great. We're good to go, Ricky.
You're good to go.
Ricky, Jerome, and everyone else in the room. You can see the slides, yeah? Fantastic. Yeah. Great. Now, shout out to all the guys watching us on. We're live on YouTube as well. Yeah, shout out to everyone watching on YouTube and all the other platforms. Yes, and then also most importantly to give you guys props for making the time, for showing up. Great. Now, without further ado, let us get straight into it. Now, before I start, I'd like to get some expectations in the, what do you guys expect to get from this session? Just let me know. You can let me know in the chat box, or you can unmute and then you can talk. Just let me know what do you expect from today's session. I know you guys have had a couple of sessions. You had a session with Tessie. Fantastic session, I must say. So in the chat, everyone, guys, what do you expect from today's session? Today we're talking about preparing for recruitment. Yes, to learn what appropriate attire for a job interview is. Jerome, never go wrong in a suit. Simple as that. For guys, never go wrong in a suit. But also it depends on the job you're applying for. Yeah, but a suit is generally accepted. But we'll get into that All right. Any other questions? June, I see. June Wamboi, I see your mic is unmuted. Would you like to say something? And just like that, June has muted her mic. All right, great. Ricky says how to give the right answers for questions asked. Okay, at some point we'll talk about the questions in interviews. All right. Vince says, as a 2.2 student in architecture, awaiting to now enter into the recruitment attachment field, I'd like to know what to look for, the criteria I should consider, an analysis of what I should expect, what I need to equip myself with, basically everything, because I'm literally clueless. Don't worry, Vince. I hope to answer some of your questions. So from today's session, you'll have a clue of how the recruitment process looks like. Gregory asks, does previous academic history matter? Is it like repeating from Form 4 or something? I don't think it does matter, really. And then also Wanjala, I expect to know how to better negotiate terms of work during recruitment or set the negotiation tone. Yes, we'll talk about negotiation towards the end. And then how to answer the question, what are your weaknesses? Right. Do people still ask those questions? What are your weaknesses? What are your strengths? All right, great. I've seen your expectations, and I think from what I've prepared, we are good to go. I'll answer some of the questions or some of the expectations or some of the concerns that you have. If I don't, remind me at the end of the session. All right, great. So let us start. On Tuesday, when I was in JQuat, on Tuesday, I think I scared guys a bit because I said, that the world out there can be tough, right? And then I said that for those guys who are in the session, I said nobody owes you nothing, So when you're out there, as in ukitoka huko nje uko solo dolo mse, right? So it's up to you and what you can offer that will make you advance in your career, right? So as you can see there, it can be tough out there, but let me just say the truth. It is tough out here, right? Out here, it is tough because I've been here, I've been where you are, as a student looking for a job, right? So I can say, guys, it is tough. And why do I say this? Let's look at some statistics up. They say numbers don't lie, right? So university enrollment in Kenya. Currently, I think there are over 500,000 plus students in universities in Kenya, right? 500,000, if I'm not wrong. Let me just see what that says. This is university enrollment in Kenya from 2017, 2018 to 2020, 2021. Yes, so actually 2020, 2021, 546,699, right? 546,699 students currently enrolled. And yes, these guys are expecting to graduate and come out here and look for jobs, right? So that is why I said it is actually tough out here, right? Now, again, only 20% of jobs are advertised, 80% are through referrals, right? And then something else that is very shocking, a recruiter takes an average of 8 seconds reviewing CVs. And actually the industry average is 6 seconds in reviewing your CV, right? So with these numbers, you see why I said that it is tough out here, right? Just imagine 500,000 of you, only 20% of jobs are advertised, 80% are through referrals. And then recruiters, when they get CVs, they take 8 seconds to look at a CV and say whether they can, this one is good to go, or they'll just throw this one, right? So with this, I think this can make you worried, right? Because 500,000 students and jobs not being there as people are saying, or as the word out there is, it can make you worried as a student, right? And then also when I say that only 20% of jobs are advertised, like Brighter Monday or in the papers, or all these other sites, Fuzu, Glassdoor, on LinkedIn as well. Yeah, so that's only 20%, right? But the 80% of jobs are actually gotten through referrals, right? Yes, so let's get straight into it. So because it's tough out there, we need to compete. Now, how do you compete? How do you make sure that you're the first one to get to the egg, right? If you know what I'm saying. How do you make sure that you are the one who your CV is seen by the recruiter? How do you make sure that you are the one who's, when you go to the interview, you're the one who's selected, right? How do you make sure that your LinkedIn stands out, right? How do you make sure that your profile stands out, Yani? How are you going to compete, right, out here with everyone else graduating, right? And we had a few graduations last weekend. How do you make sure that as one of the graduates, you're the one who's taken, right? Now let's see what we can start doing now. Mm-hmm. Now, the basis of my presentation today is made of 5 steps, right? 5 steps, and I'm calling them the 5 steps of the outside-in approach, on how to negotiate this recruitment process, right? When we're looking for jobs, right? And the 5 steps are positioning, external sensing and applications, interviews, the art of negotiation, and then decision making, right? So we're going to start with positioning, how you position yourself, and then the applications, how do you get applications out there, or how do people know that you're actually looking for opportunities? And then when you get that opportunity to interview, how do you go about it? And then also after your interview, after you've been successful, how do you negotiate to make sure that you get the best deal, right? And then also after negotiating, how do you make the decision, right? Great. So this will form the basis of our talk today, right? So positioning, external sensing and applications, interviews, the art of negotiation, and then decision making. All right, great. Now, let's start with positioning. With positioning, it is very clear. You need to know your what, you need to know where, and you need to know how, right? So you need to know exactly what your career goals are, right? You need to know where you are going, and then you need to know how you're going to get there, right? So this should be very clear in your head, right? So you need to know what your career goals are, where you want to be, and then how you're going to get there, all right? And you remember, for those of us who are in JQuat on Tuesday, we distinguished between a job and a career, and we said a job is short-term, while a career is long-term, right? And that's why we need to know exactly what, where, and how we're going to navigate and get to where we want to be, right? Great. So what are your career goals, right? Now, for your career goals, they need to be very clear, very clear. And then, as I'm saying, a career is long-term. So it needs to be clear, aspirational, and then it needs to be a path that you're going to follow to get to the long-term that you're aiming to get at, right? And then you need to be very agile, especially in this world, in this new world that we're living. Things are coming up each and every day. So we need to be learning as much as possible, learning as quickly as possible. And that's why I'm saying agility and continuous learning is key, right? So we need to be very agile out here. We need to continuously learn the new things that are happening, right? And then we need to base our learnings on emerging skills, skill sets set for required for future roles. Like for those of us who are in architecture, design is quite key, right? When you're talking about architecture. And I'm talking about design, like, interior designing nowadays. Architecture probably back in the day was just, how you're going to make a house. But nowadays you need to think about a lot, right? Like, like the new trends that are emerging, like the natural lighting, the big windows that we have to let natural light in. Siku hizi hakuna manyumba zinajengwa na maroof, like design for architecture, right? And I chose this example because most of us here are doing architecture, right? So we need to know all these things, right? So that we can see exactly where our careers are headed to and what we can start doing now, the skills that we need to start learning, right? Great. Now, all right. Let's look at the where, right? Now that was the how. Now let's look at the where. Where are these opportunities, or where do we get to to learn of new opportunities on our careers, or things happening, especially in our areas of interest, right? Now, I'd like to emphasize on how we can leverage on social and professional networking, right? And LinkedIn being the first place that you can go, to see how we can learn what is happening in our chosen fields. For example, if you're in marketing, if you're in PR, for those of us in architecture, right? And then also organizations, and that's why I said professional networking. Organizations you join, especially when you're in campus, like ISEC, this will expose you to opportunities, to people, to professionals, who are able to give you insights on what is happening, or where the opportunities are, right? So we need to leverage on social and professional networking so that we can get a head start, right? And let's see how we can do that, especially on LinkedIn, right? Now, a lot is going on LinkedIn. Now, when you go to LinkedIn, you need to know that this is a professional networking site, right? So first of all, you need to avoid a lot of personal things, right? So when you go to LinkedIn, avoid a lot of personal things. Let it strictly be professional, right? So when you're there, avoid politics, first of all. Avoid moms and relationships, all these things. When you're there, strictly put it professional. Let that be your CV, your online CV, right? You wouldn't want to put things like politics in your CV, right? And that's what I'm saying. When you're on LinkedIn, let's try and be as professional as possible, right? Now, also when you're there, so that our profiles don't appear like everyone else's, there are things that we can change, right? And I'm calling this LinkedIn buzzwords, right? So we all see people saying motivated, passionate, creative, driven. I have extensive experience. I am responsible. I'm strategic. I have a track record. I'm an expert in this. Guys, as for those of us who are there in the session on Tuesday in JQuad, I said all these things are boring. Imagine, we've all had this: motivated, passionate, creative. Now, I'd like us to change. Instead of using these words, these boring words that you can see here: motivated, passionate, creative. Let's try and use these words, right? Instead of motivated, use a word like determined, ambitious, fired up.
Personalities different kabisa. Mmoja ni introvert kabisa, mwingine ni extrovert kabisa. Mmoja anapenda kuspend, mwingine hapendi kuspend. Mwingine nini like yani wako so disparate to.
All right, someone's trying to help me there. Now, again, I'm saying instead of words like passionate, you can use things like zealous, fanatic, enthusiastic, right? For those of us who are creatives, words like original, artistic, inventive, gifted, inventive and gifted. These words will set your profile apart, right? And then the thing about LinkedIn is that recruiters actually use these words, right? So when you use these words, recruiters, when they are looking for profiles, they will look for these words, right? Instead of these words, right? So for your profile to be seen, right? For your profile to be seen easily and quickly by the right recruiter, I'd like us to start using these words, right? We all say strategic. Instead of saying strategic, we can use words like tactical, goal-oriented, purposeful. Instead of saying I have a track record, let's use statistics, actual numbers. Use words like accomplished, performance history as well. And then instead of organizational, we can use words like structural, administrative, managerial. And then instead of expert, we can use words like skilled, savvy, and sharp, right? So how does your LinkedIn profile look like right now, right? So just this an assignment I'm giving you. Just look at your profile. If you have some of these words, you can try and replace them with these ones, right? All right. And then also when it comes to LinkedIn as well, try to get as many recommendations as possible, right? So try to get as many recommendations as possible, especially from people in your area, people in your field, right? People in your area, people in your field, they'll give you recommendations, okay? And then also try to put as much information there in your profile as possible, right? For example, if you're a student, put what you're studying, and then also put what you've been able to do, other extracurricular activities that you were involved in when you were in school. If you are in a club, right? If you are in a certain position, like if you were volunteering somewhere, if you are interning somewhere, make sure that all this information is in your profile, right? Again, all this information helps potential recruiters to see that you are actually you've been actually able to work and you actually have experience. One of the major things, especially when they're leaving university and trying to get into their workspace, is that they lack experience and they ask, where am I supposed to get this experience? Yet I'm just from school, right? The answer is you can get this experience from, things that you can do, internships, work study for those of us who are institutions that allow us to work when you're still studying. And then also if you get an opportunity to volunteer in institutions like Red Cross, or children homes, all these institutions that give you volunteering opportunities, take them up as much as possible, because this will give you an edge over the 500,000 of you that are graduating. All right, great. Now, this is a good example of a statement that you can use in your LinkedIn, right? Instead of saying, I am an expert in marketing management, I am responsible and I am passionate about sales, I'm driven, and my track record shows extensive experience in management, you can phrase this better by saying, again, using statistics and using numbers as much as possible. With over 5 years in marketing management, I can carry the weight and come up with tactical ideas on the go. I'm energetic and well acquainted with every inch of the sales journey, right? Now, for sure, if you compare the first statement and the second statement, even you as a recruiter, you will go for the person who's written the second statement, right? Again, why? Because it's not boring. Because it's, as in, even the words that have been used, you see, energetic, well acquainted with every inch of the sales journey. And then also they've written there 5 years, right? Just to show exactly how much experience they have, right? So again, I urge us all, if we're in LinkedIn, we can try and use it to its maximum potential. And why am I saying this? I am saying this because nowadays, this is one of the easiest ways and places you can get recruited, right? You can get recruited and you can get recognized, right, by potential recruiters, right? So I wanted to start with LinkedIn because I know we are young, we are digital savvy, right? And this is one of the avenues that we can use, to boost our profiles so that, again, to get a head start, right? Ahead of everyone else, right? Great. Now, let's talk about the how, right? Professional resume for now. Artificial intelligence has checked in and the employer will come for you, right? Just like I'm saying, recruiters are out there on LinkedIn looking at profiles that match what they are looking for, right? And they will use these buzzwords that I was talking about. And then also, some of these recruiters actually use AI, right? And this AI is the one that actually picks up these profiles based on the words that I was talking about, right? And then the right wordings on your profile speak to key abilities and achievements aligned to your future job, right? So when you're putting out your profile out there, make sure that the key abilities and achievements are aligned to your future job. And then something else we need to do, we need to think like entrepreneurs, right? Now, we all know about entrepreneurs, but now we need to think like entrepreneurs. And who is an entrepreneur? An entrepreneur is someone who sees an opportunity, right, where they are, right? An opportunity where they are and uses that opportunity to grow, right? So we need to utilize opportunities within to build our competencies before we venture out there, right? So wherever you are right now, what can you do? All right. Wherever you are right now, you need to be an entrepreneur and see the opportunities where you are right now. And then these opportunities, take them up and, make something better, come up with a better process, and then this will help you, this will mold you when you're even venturing outside there, right? So you need a professional resume and then the right wordings on your profile, and then you need to think like an entrepreneur, right? Start within first, see the problems that you can solve where you are right now, and I say like work study, right? For the students out here, if you're studying in uni, you can try and see whether you can work maybe in your libraries, in your computer labs, and all these other places that require guys to put in some work, right? And then when you get into these places, you are now able to see opportunities inside these places, and these opportunities will help you grow and venture. You'll be able now to venture outside as a better person, actually. All right. Great. Now, we've talked about the how. Now, that was all about step one, right? So remember, 5 steps. That was step one. And step one was you need to have clear goals. And then we talked about the what, where, and the how. All right. So we talked about what, where, we talked about LinkedIn, we talked about the networks that we can have, and then we talked about the how. Now, let's go to step 2. Step 2, which is external sensing and applications. Now, these jobs that I said that only 80% are not advertised and 20% are advertised, right? How do you get them, right? Now, first of all, the first thing that we need to do is we need to use our professional networks as much as possible, right? Now, when you're looking for a job, you need to send out feelers through your professional networks, right? Who knows you're looking for a job, right? So again, first of all, start within, right? People that you know professionally, people that you've worked with before, people that you've met in professional circles, right? These are your networks again. They say your networks are your net worth, right? So the first thing that you need to do is you need to send out feelers, right? So you can't be looking for a job and people don't know that you are looking for a job. People that you've been able to meet, when you were in uni studying or when you were in your internship somewhere, right? So these professional networks, these guys, first of all, they need to know that you're actually looking for a job, right? And then the second thing that you need to do is you need to be choosy. You need to follow organizations that match your values and a culture where you belong, right? When I say follow, I mean on the socials. And a good example I can give right now is Centonomy, right? Now, if you follow Centonomy on our socials, you will know, or you will have realized that we are actually looking for an intern at the moment, right? Yeah, so that's why I'm saying, be choosy, follow organizations that match your values and a culture where you will belong, right? So even on LinkedIn, try as much as possible to follow organizations that are in your field, they match your values, and a culture, a work culture where when you get in, you will belong, right? And then also we need to target our applications. The era of blind applications is normal. I remember when I finished uni and I was looking for an internship, my friends and I made copies of CVs and bought bunches of brown envelopes, and we put our CVs there and we went to town and we started dishing them out everywhere. Right now, some of my friends got calls from those CVs. Some of us didn't, like I didn't get, but those days, that was one of the ways that we guys used to get positions, right? Guys used to get opportunities, but that era is no longer there, right? We're in a new era, digital era. That's why I'm saying targeted applications are where it's at, right? So you need, first of all, to know exactly which organization that you want to work for, right? Or which type of organization that you are looking to work for, right? In your field, in your field of expertise, what organization are you looking to work for, right? And how do you look at these organizations? First of all, you will look and see the values that this organization has, right? What values do these organizations have? The organizations that I work for, right? And you can get this information. It's out there. What do people say about this organization that I want to work for, or this organization that I'm actually keen in looking at, right? And then again, something else that you need to look at is your application or your CV should have a signature statement of your key or verifiable contribution and impact, right? So all the information that you put out there in your applications, in your CV, should have a signature statement of your key verifiable contribution and impact. So in short, what am I saying? I'm saying be honest, all right? Be honest in all your applications, all right? So whatever you're putting out there in your, especially in your profiles, in your LinkedIn, in your CV, should be accurate to the point, right? To the full stop, actually, right? So so that even when you get called and you're asked, what do you mean by this statement, or what exactly did you mean by this, you'll be able to say, right? So your application will have a signature statement of your key, and these contributions, and these contributions should be verifiable, right? So that even when guys call the referees that you put in your CVs, these referees will actually attest to it, that what you're saying is actually true. All right, great. Now, what are employers looking for, right? What are employers looking for? So nowadays, this is what guys are looking for. Someone was asking, do grades matter? Yes, grades do matter, but you'll find that mostly we don't even put our grades or what we got, especially on LinkedIn. I haven't seen anyone who's put I got an A- in my KCSE, right? Even in CVs nowadays, I don't say that, right? So what are employers looking for? Right now, what the key aspect is the right skills, right? The right skills. Do you have what it takes? Right? Do you have what it takes to perform the task at hand, right? So the first thing that you need to have is the right skills. And then something else you need to have is commitment and values. That is your behaviors. And then again, last thing you need to have is contribution. What are you bringing to the table, right? So what problem are you going to solve for this employer? What contribution are you bringing to the table, right? So this is what employers are looking for nowadays. The right skill sets, the commitment and the values that you have, and the contribution, what you're going to bring to the table, what you're going to bring to the organization. Great. Now, let's look at CVs. What should your CV do for you, right? So what should your CV do for you? I remember when I started, I said that recruiters take 8 seconds to look at a CV, right? And I said that, that the industry average is 6 seconds, right? So your CV should be able to market you in a very short time, right? In a very short time, your CV should be able to market you in 6 seconds, right? So your CV should say, I am interesting enough for you to have a conversation with me, right? And then you need to outline your achievements, your contribution, say what you have been able to do, right? What you've been able to achieve, right? Say exactly what you've been able to do, especially in school, extracurricular activities that you did. If you were in clubs, what were you able to do in these clubs, right? And then quality over quantity, right? Quality over quantity. For you guys, I'd put it at a maximum of 3 pages, right? 3 pages, right? So again, quality over quantity. It's not how many pages you have in the CV, it's what in this is in the CV that matters, right? And then 76% of CVs and resumes are discarded because of unprofessional email addresses. And I think this is a no-brainer, right? When you're sending out your applications or the information that you put out there, the email address especially should be very professional, right? And then I talked about referees. Now, in CVs, it is important that you have at least 3 referees, right? And the referees can be academic. So academic can be your lecturer, right? Or your dean in school. And then you need a professional, right? Someone in the field that you are actually in, right? If it's in architecture, right? You should have a professional who can vouch for you, and then also social, right? So people who, again, the others who use pastors. If you can get a referee from your chief in your village, then I think that can set you apart actually, right? So what we should avoid putting there as referees are our friends, our families especially. So avoid those, right? So it needs to be professional, academic, and then guys in the social circles as well. But social, avoid families and friends, right? Now, with this, let me ask, what does your CV say about you, all right? So let's use this, and then we can see what our CV should say about us, right? So a CV should market you in a very short time, 6 seconds actually, and then it should say, I'm interesting enough for you to have a conversation with me, and then outline your achievements, your contributions, and what you're able to do. And then again, I say quality over quantity. So maximum for you guys, 3 pages, right? And then remember to be professional, especially the email addresses that we use, and then have the correct referees, right? Great. Now, let's go to step number 3, which is actually a big one, right? Now, interviews. Hey, I know these interviews actually, guys go through a lot in interviews. I was actually there. Yeah, I've been to a few interviews, and hey, let me tell you, some of them didn't go so well. They didn't go so well. First of all, because I wasn't prepared. I didn't know what kind of questions would be asked. I didn't know what to ask myself. But eventually, I became good, and I can take any interview right now, right? I'm confident to say that. Why? Because when you go for an interview, the first thing that you need to do is you need to research. Research is key. First of all, you need to research on the nature of the interview, right? So you need to know what kind of interview am I going for, right? Now, for example, is it competency-based? What do I mean by competency-based? I mean, this interview, is it going to test my skills, right? If I am applying for a role as an accountant, am I going to be told to balance the books of accounts? Am I going to be given, a scenario? And then also, will this interview be oral, right? Or will this interview be written, right? So you need to research, first of all, on the nature of the interview so that you're well prepared. So that if it's competency-based, you know that you need to prepare, right? You need to know, again, I use the examples for accountants. So if you're an accountant, you need to ask, am I going to be given a scenario or something that I need to do, right? For those of us who are in PR, am I going to be told to come up with a post, and then monitor how that post is going to go out there? And then also, is this interview going to be oral? Is it going to be written? And then also you can ask, is it going to be online? All right. And then research on what the recruiter is looking for, right? So person specifications, right? And then also the interviews like executive interviews, like meeting the CEO or the board, right? So you also need to know who are you going to meet in this interview? Are you going to meet the CEO? Are you going to meet the board? Is it going to be one person? Is it going to be a panel, right? So all these are questions that you can actually ask prior, right? Before you go to the interview, right? And then you need to always prepare a question to ask the panel or the interviewer. And then most importantly, dress the part, right? Regardless of whether the interview is online, the interview is physical, you need to dress the part. For guys, I recommend a suit any day, anytime. Ladies, a dress, yes, do good, right? So interviews, number one, research on the nature of the interview. Is it competency-based? Is it oral interview? Is it going to be, a written interview? And then research on what the recruiter is looking for. And then is it an executive interview? Am I going to meet the board or the CEO? And then always prepare to ask a question. And then lastly, dress the part, right? Great. Now, before the interview, right? This is some of the things that you need to consider. Number one is take into consideration Murphy's Law. And what does Murphy's Law say? Murphy's Law says that anything that can go wrong will actually go wrong, right? So on that day of the interview, be prepared for any scenario, right? Be prepared for any scenario. For example, if it is an online interview, always make sure that your laptop is fully charged. You never know, stima zinazapotea. And then also make sure that your connection is all right, right? That day could be the day that the internet acts up. So always make sure that you have a backup, right? Ukona bundles, ukona line ingine ya Airtel ama ya Telcom, that you can actually switch on to real quickly, right? So always have in mind that anything can happen, anything can go wrong, right? Again, if it is a physical interview that you're going there physically, again, take Murphy's Law into consideration. Time. Imagine there will be the worst traffic ever, right? So if you're leaving home, leave home as early as possible, all right? So again, think of all the things that could go wrong, right? And then see what you can do if those things can go wrong, right? Now, number two, research on the organization, right? So you need to know exactly what this organization does, how this organization makes money, the products that this organization has, sells, the services that it does, right? If possible, when the organization was started, right? And then you need to have researched the latest trends or happenings in the industry, all right? So the industry that you are interviewing for or that you want to get into, you need to know the trends, what is currently happening in that industry. And then you need to be very clear on the job description. The job description that came with the job advert, you need to be very clear on it. And then so that just to make sure that you are actually competent and you're actually able to deliver. And then have the same copy of the CV that you sent in the job application, right? So as you're going for the interview, just make sure that the CV that you're going with is the one that you sent in the application, right? And then make sure that you carry all the copies of your critical documents and any other relevant documentation. I mean your qualifications, your degrees, right? If possible, also copies of your ID, all these things, right? And then last, but the most important thing, you need to do a dry run or a mock interview, right? So before the actual day of the interview, make sure that you do at least several interviews. Get someone who can help you with this. If it's if it's your brother, your sister, or your someone, just make sure that you practice before them first, right? Do a dry run or a mock interview before the actual interview. So do as many interviews as possible, right? Again, if it is someone who has referred to you to that job, ask them if you can practice on them, right? So that these guys can be able to ask you questions, possible questions that can come up, right? And then you are actually prepared, right? So don't go for an interview without doing the interview, right? So don't go for the interview without doing a dry run or a mock interview. Do it at least 5 times, right? So do it at least 5 times over and over and over and over, so that also when you get to the day of the interview, you'll be good to go. It won't be a new experience. It will be something that you have already practiced, right? So do a dry run or a mock interview before the actual interview. All right. No, and just before that. Now, answering the questions. How do you answer interview questions? First of all, you need to take your time. Don't be in a rush to answer questions. Take your time. If the question is unclear, you can ask the interviewer to clarify, right? So if you're not sure what has been asked, you can always ask the interviewer to clarify or to phrase the question better, right? And then when you're answering questions, use examples as much as possible, right? So instead of telling, show, right? And then be honest, and then also be able to connect with each interviewer, right? So take your time when you're answering the questions, ask for clarifications if you are unclear, use examples, show, don't tell, and then be honest as much as possible. They say honesty is the best policy. And then if possible, connect with each interviewer, right? If possible, connect with each interviewer. Now, the motivation. And the motivation I'm talking here about is money, right? After we've gone all through those things, right? We've gone through, how we can get our profiles out there on LinkedIn, how we can get these opportunities through our networks, and then also preparing for the interview and getting the interview now, and you've aced the interview. Now, the big motivation comes in, and the big motivation for me is money, right? So money is always a motivation for me. Let no one lie to you out there that money is not a big motivation. It actually is, right? So the big motivation. So when it comes to the money, how do you negotiate, right? How do you negotiate so that you make sure that you get the best deal for you, right? When it comes to the money, how do you negotiate so that you make sure that you get the best deal that is out there for you, right? So there's this scenario that happens when you've gone through the interview, and then mnafika hapa kwa nini, the interviewer asks, how much are you expecting? And then you as the interviewer, you ask, what is your budget, right? So in this situation where both of you are asking questions, right? So for us to avoid this, we actually need to avoid this. And how we can avoid this is by, first of all, having a figure, right? Having a figure in mind, right? So that we don't end up in this situation where the interviewer asks, so how much are you expecting for this role, for this position? and then you ask the interviewer, how much are you willing to give me? Or what is your budget, right? We need to prepare, and how we can prepare is having a figure at the back of your mind, having a figure that will help you answer this question, right? Now, how do we come up with this figure? So when you're coming up with this figure, this is what you do. When you're negotiating, the first thing that you need to do is you need to benchmark with the industry, right? So look at similar positions out there. How much are they paying for that role, all right? If it is an industry, if it is in architecture, look at the entry level. Benchmark with other organizations. How much is that role? How much are people compensated in that role in that industry? All right. So that's number one. Benchmark with the industry, and then also look at similar organizations, right? And then number two thing that you need to look at, also consider, is benefits, other benefits that you are going to get, right? These are things like insurance. If you're going to get insurance, if you're going to get phone allowances, and then number three thing that you always need to consider is 30% tax, right? Always consider the 30% tax. So if you're quoting a figure, always consider 30% of that figure will be taxable, all right? And then last but not least, sleep over it, don't give a final answer immediately, all right? So don't give a final answer immediately. You can tell them, let me think about it, and then I'll get back to you tomorrow. But again, don't take too much time thinking about it, right? So sleep over it, inquire as much as possible, ask people, tell people this is what I've been given, do I take it, or what do you think, right? Sleep over it, and then, do, again, this also goes with research. Do research, sleep over it, and then don't take, again, too much time thinking about it, right? So don't give the final answer immediately, but also don't take a lot of time thinking about it. If you can, respond the following day, right? Great. So that is how you actually negotiate. So first of all, benchmark with the industry, right? What are guys getting out there, especially in this our industry, in this entry role, entry position, with this kind of organization? Look at the organization also. Is the organization, an SME? Is it an NGO? Is it, is it a big corporate? So benchmark, right? And then also consider other benefits that that you might be getting. Insurance is one good benefit, and then also some do pay for phone, some do pay for housing, some do pay for transport. So consider all these other benefits, right? And then ask, does their salary come with these benefits, like insurance, phone, lunch if possible, rent, right? Transport, all these things. Again, something else that people forget is the tax, right? So always consider 30% of what you say will be taxed, right? So unaweza kaa hiyo markup ya 30% hapo juu, right? So that you get exactly what you negotiate, all right? Great. Now, step number 5, making the decision, right? So after you've negotiated, now it's time to make the decision, right? Now you need to consider total rewards and intangible aspects, right? So first of all, consider what you're going to get from that job, right? Again, the big motivation, that is the money. So the money plus more, what else, right? What I'm talking about intangible aspects is things that you cannot actually see, and this I'm calling the non-monetary things, which is all about the 3 Bs, right? Is the organization, does the organization believe in things that you stand for, right? Does the organization stand for things that you believe in, right? And then what is the goal of the organization, right? What or how far can that organization grow? There are some organizations, when you look at them, they're like, ishafika peak, right? but the organizations that actually have, zikona growth, as in you can actually see this organization, it can actually grow, right? So the growth capability of that organization, the performance, the growth, the innovation, the agility, and then also the employee value proposition, right? And then, and I talked about this, belong, the shared mindset or culture of that organization, right? So those are the non-monetary things that you need to think about. That is the 3 B's: believe, what the organization stands for, the strategic direction, and then what the organization is capable of becoming, the performance, the growth, the innovation, the agility, and then again, belong. Can you belong in that organization, right? The shared mindset and the culture, okay? And then last thing that you need to do, guys, and this is very important, you need to get yourself a mentor and a coach to guide you, right? This is very important, right? You need to get yourself a mentor and a coach to guide you, especially someone who is in the field that you are getting into, right? Especially someone who is in the field that you're getting into. So it's very important to have someone to guide you through all this process, right? Through this journey, through your career journey, it is very important to get someone to help you and to guide you. And this person is called a mentor or a coach, right? And as you can see there, from that photo, this is Cristiano Ronaldo and Sir Alex Ferguson, right? So guys, coaches and mentors are very important. Why? Because no matter how good you are, or no matter how good you get, there's always room for improvement, right? And the only person who can see the room for improvement can be your mentor or your coach, right? So no matter how good you are in the things that you do, you always need someone who can make you better, right? And that person is a mentor and a coach, right? So guys, make sure that you have mentors and coaches, especially in the fields that we are, in fields that we want to get into, right? If you want to get into architecture, look at someone who you can actually, who you actually admire in that field. If it's marketing, get someone who you actually admire in that field, or any other area of, of your choice. Make sure you have someone who you can look up to, and then also look at someone who can be able to advise you, and someone who can actually go through the career journey with you, right? So guys, the truth of the matter is, in this career journey, it is very hard to go on your own. Very, very hard, right? But if you have someone to go along with you, that is a mentor and a coach, the journey will be easy, right? Why do I say this? I say this because the mentors and the coaches, they are able to help us become better, right? They're able to help us become better in the things that we're doing, right? Great. And with that, guys, I have come to the end of my presentation. I wanted to keep it very short, very sweet and short, and straight to the point, right? So remember the 5 steps that we've talked about. And then the last thing that you need to do is get yourself a mentor and a coach to guide you, all right? So with that said, allow me to plug the Centonomy Campus Edition, which is the reason that we're here is courtesy of Centonomy Campus Edition. And one of the classes of Centonomy Campus Edition is the career planning. And in that class, we talk about all these things and much more. We talk about how you can be able to plan your career, especially when you're still in campus, when you're young, right? So Centonomy Campus Edition has 6 modules. Module 1, principles of personal finance management, time value of money and debt, saving and investments, entrepreneurship, career planning, and mentorship. All right. So classes begin 9th October 2021. For inquiries, you can contact Esther, and I think Esther is with us here. So for more information, you can reach out to Esther, right? And attendance is only once a week, every Saturday. Once again, the classes begin on 9th October 2021. And because you guys have made time to come here, you get a discount on registration. Registration is normally 1,000, but for you guys, because you have come today, you get a chance and an opportunity to register with only 500 more, right? So contact Esther through esther@centonomy.com, and then she'll be able to take you through the registration process. All right. And then, if you'd like to pay now, MPesa Paybill 986850, account name and first name, plus the word Thrive for ThriveCon. And again, you can reach out to me, Michael Thotho, on my social networks, that is LinkedIn and Twitter. You can get me at Michael Thotho. All right, great. Now, any questions that we may have? Let me see on the yes. I am going to share the slides. Jerome, I'm going to share the slides with you. All right. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Gregory, as well. Jerome, I hand it back to you. Any question that I might have missed, or anyone who has a question on what I've presented, on anything that they wanted to, that they may have wanted to hear, this is your chance. Thank you, Ricky.
Sawa. Asanteni sana, guys. Mike, I saw a question.
Yes.
Okay, sorry guys, remember, I think Nanu it was asked a question of when you're preparing a question to ask, like, how do you, because after an interview,
oh yes, I said
answered. How do you prepare a question to ask? Yeah.
Yes, I said that we should always have a question to ask the panel. All right.
Yeah.
So one of the questions that you can ask is you can ask the organizational cultures, right? What the organizational culture is, right? What the organization actually stands for, right? So that is one key question that you can ask, the panelists. What is your organizational culture? And then you ask them, what are you looking in achieving in 5 years' time, right? And then also a question pertaining the role that you are applying for. You can ask what will be expected of me, and what will be used to see if I've been able to meet my expectations, right? Yes. So those are the few questions that you can ask. Again, always prepare a question to ask to the panel, right? One of the questions that you can ask is about the culture of the organization, and then also ask the long-term plans of the organization. And then also you can ask the expectations, what you are expected to deliver, and what will be used to measure if you've been able to deliver, and exactly, probably how much time, if it's a probation period of 3 months or something like that. Yes, so those are some of the questions that you can prepare.
A question of my own.
Yes.
So like most of us here, we are a mixture of students of architecture. There are quite a few engineers, and quite a few people are attending this because they are seeking to not really jump ship, but to up their skills elsewhere. So for example, I have a friend here who's very good, though she's in a technical course. So my question is, how do you recommend, even before this whole process of now staking out, would you, how do you finding people to ask specific questions? So I think the term for it is informational interviews, where you find somebody, let's say, and you ask questions, even like in a very casual setting. Let's say you get them food or you go for coffee just to ask questions. So how do you suggest you don't really know anybody, or let's say you know somebody but they're quite far off. So before even you get into the or how do you suggest about that one questionnaire with somebody?
Oh, okay, Ricky, not Ricky. Jerome, I'm having problems hearing you. Sijui kama ni network yako iko na shida. Sijasikia,
Yes.
I haven't heard that question.
Okay. I'll type it. Sorry. Yeah.
So, anyone else with a question, they can unmute, and then I'll be able to take the question as Jerome is typing his. Right. So if you have a question, you can unmute, or as well you can type it in the chat, and then I'll be able to see it and answer to the best of my ability. All right, Jerome, I see it. How would you suggest that someone goes about looking for someone in the field to ask for personal questions about the post, especially if it's an industry you are not fully aware of? All right, so I'm thinking this is probably if you've seen like an advert and then you'd like to get more information about that job, right? Jerome, if I'm not wrong, if you've seen like an advert and then you'd like to get someone who can, like a pre-interview chat, right? Now, again, LinkedIn is your friend, right? So look at LinkedIn as much as possible, and then you know how LinkedIn gives you like connections. You can actually see probably there's a connection that you have that can actually be able to get or has a connection to someone in that organization, right? You know how LinkedIn has like 1, 2, first, second, or third connections, right? So you can actually use those to help you see whether you can get someone who knows about that post, right? Or someone who can get you to get to someone who knows about that post, right? And the thing is, with just kidogo research utapata aya, kumbe kuna mtu unajua mwenye anaweza kuwa anajua mtu anafanya job huko, right? Ama kuna mtu unajua mwenye anaweza jua mtu mwenye anajua mtu anafanya job huko, right? So try to go to on LinkedIn as much as possible. Try angalia connections, right? Ukiangalia connections utaona kumbe this guy works there and this guy is a connection on LinkedIn, right? So we can use that to get you a contact, and you can actually ask about that position. But again, some of these things you need to be very careful how you approach them, right? Because I know is it called what is it called? There are some organizations that actually prohibit that, so you should be very careful about how you go about it, right? There are some organizations that when they know that you are actually looking for this information, you should be very careful. For example, don't ask the HR. Unajua, siulize HR. HR hata kuambia. Na ukiuliza HR swali kama hiyo, they can actually disqualify you, right? So again, be very careful who it is that you are approaching, the contact that you've gotten, so that isionekane ni kama unajua unapata better information than the other guys who might be applying for that job, right? Great. And then Kim, I say not understood the cost pricing and the discount. All right, so the discount is for registration. So the cost pricing is on your screen right now. Initially, the cost was 17,000, but now it's 15,300. Registration is 1,000, but for you guys, you get a discount of 500, right? So today, if you register today, you can get a discount of 500 on registration. And then you can be paying the cost in installments 3 weeks, 5,000, 5,000, 4,300. So you don't have to have the whole 15,300 all at once, right? You can be paying in installments, right? 5,000, 5,000, 4,300, right? If you'd like more information on this, contact Esther at Centonomy.com, or you can also contact me, Michael at Centonomy.com, or connect on me on my socials, or call me. Number is 0718 600 637.
Sawa. Awesome.
600 637.
I don't think there are any more questions.
Okay, see, Theory says, thank you so much for the insight. Definitely. Yes, Theory, as much as possible, guys, spice up your LinkedIn profiles as well. Let me tell you, this has done wonders for me. And I will attest to that. LinkedIn can do wonders for you. Yeah, so as much as possible, spice it up. Use the words that we talked about, and I'm going to share with you the presentation so that you can actually see the words, the buzzwords that I was talking about, so that you can see, what to avoid and what to use, right? And then also remember to shout about your achievements, especially on LinkedIn. Each and everything that you do, professionally, that is, make sure that you shout about it, right? Make sure that the world sees. Remember I said, we are many of us, so we need to be seen as much as possible, right? We need to be the red car. You remember what I was saying for those of us who are in JQuad. I said, instead of being the white car, we need to be the red car, right? So shout as much as possible about all your achievements, all the things that you've been able to do. Shout about them. And a good platform is LinkedIn, right? Before I go, can I share a personal interview experience, good or bad? Now, let me share about my interview experience at Centonomy, right? Now, remember what I said, prepare for the worst, right? Prepare for the worst. Yani, I did 3 interviews for Centonomy, right? So 3 interviews. Now, let me tell you the whole story. I was actually an intern when I was interviewing for Centonomy. I was doing my attachment at Nairobi City County, right? I was doing an attachment there, Nairobi City County, and then I saw an advert. So actually, remember what I said, your social networks or your networks. So this advert, I saw it from someone who had attended Centonomy and is my friend, right? So a very good friend of mine attended Centonomy and they did the Centonomy program. And then for Centonomy, how we share our opportunities is first of all through our own networks, right? First of all through our alumni, right? So this guy had done the course Centonomy 101, and he was in one WhatsApp group for that alumni for that session, right? So see, they got the poster on the group, and then he forwarded it to me, and then I applied, right? So I applied, and then I went for the first interview, and then I was told, yeah, you have qualified, you can come for the second interview. Now, let me go back to the first interview. The first interview was quite tricky because we were with my immediate boss and then also the person who was leaving that position, right? So the person who was leaving that position actually challenged me, asked me, "Oh, you seem quite young. Why have you not included your age in the CV so that we can know how old you are?" But I was like, okay, I didn't think that matters because I've actually, because I'm actually qualified for this position. So I didn't think that matters, right? Again, my now immediate boss asked me a few questions, and then in the midst of me answering the questions, he removes his phone and then he starts recording. Yes, you can imagine my shock. So you're there answering questions, and then he removes the phone and then he starts recording. What? Yani, you are like, wow, now who's going to see this video? Yani, I started sweating. Hey, but anyway, you remember what I said? Practice as much as possible, do many dry runs. So because I'd done many dry runs, I was okay. So that scared me for a bit, but not for too long, right? So he recorded, and I was okay. Now, the second interview, when I was told I was successful, I actually got this email that morning, right? So that morning, when I went to my attachment, I went there early. I'm an early riser generally. So I got there very early, and then I hadn't checked my email for a while, right? Now, when I checked my email, I saw a mail that had come 2 days prior, right? And that mail had said I had advanced to the next level, and I was being requested to come for the next interview, which was on that day. The day that I am seeing the email is the day that the interview is happening. What? So I'm like, guy, what do I do? I told someone there that I was in attachment with, and I said, hii interview mse, imenipotea tu hivyo. Imagine nimecheki mail saa hizi na interview iko in 1 hour. Na niko hapa already. And I was, nilikuwa attachment. So sikuwa nimevaa suti, sikuwa mse akaniambia, mse fanya hivi. This can actually be your, this can actually be your thing. So we fanya hivi, enda home haraka sana. Hapa job, mimi nitakushikilia, nitasema, nitafanya kazi yako na nini. But you do this. When you're going home, you'll be going against traffic. It's quite still early, so utaenda against traffic. So fika home, vaa suti, alafu ukivaa suti, chukua nduthi, paka westi. I am sure Mike, hiyo 1 hour utakuwa umemake it. Nikakachini nikajiuliza, so niende home, saizi nikienda home itakuwa against traffic. Alafu nikifika home nivae suti haraka haraka, alafu nichukue nduthi. Nikaona by the way, ina make sense. Nikauliza, what do I have to lose anyway, right? So si event. Na nikaenda nikafanya interview, right? Same time ilikuwa okay, yeah. Na nikaenda nikafanya interview na nikaitwa the other third interview. Now, remember I also talked about you need to research about the nature of the interview. Now, the third interview, I was actually meeting the founder of Centonomy, right? Na sasa hii ilikuwa nyingine moto. So hapa hakuna mambo ya qualifications, hakuna mambo ya degree na nini na what you've been able to do or what are you doing. As in, she was just and then I remember she was in the office and then she was just looking outside and then anaona magari alafu anauliza, so Michael, what do you think affects the rate of cars that are being imported in Kenya? Maze, usually, first of all, that question is not even connected to the to the job I was doing, but it was just a question to see if I am able to think on my feet. Mimi ni nani? Haraka nikajibu swali haraka sana mazi. Nikasema first of all, earning potential ya watu, unajua ni pesa, how much are people earning, so how much people are earning, we'll say how many cars are being imported, and then also taste and preference. If it is male drivers, they will prefer this kind of car. If it is female drivers, they will prefer this kind of car. And then also, if it's the nature of the business, if it's commercial, they will prefer this kind of cars. Yani, nila tu kufikiria hapa tu, unajua, kufikiria hapa. But anyway, that is a story of, a short story of my interview process at Centonomy. And let's say, I was able to ace it because, again, here I am, right? again, guys, for interviews, you never know what's going to happen. So you need to prepare as much as possible, right? Prepare as much as possible. And I've said, always consider Murphy's Law. Anything that can go wrong, where amua tu maze, hiyo siku, kila kitu inaweza go wrong. So kama ni net, we kuwa na internet steady. Unajua, kuwa na backup. Kama ni laptop, kuwa na laptop kaa mbili nse, right? Kama ni traffic, consider traffic itakuwa, 2 hours or 3 hours more, right? So that even if things go wrong that day, all those things you had considered, right? So Jerome, yes, that is my good, let's say, yes, that's a good experience I had interviewing here at Centonomy.
Awesome.
Now, there's another one that I interviewed, and then it was very good.
I've seen them.
Yes. Hata mimi naona swali from Brian. Does it help or break your chance if people from your prospective organization see you like some time before the D-Day? See you how? Brian, what do you mean if people, prospective people see you? Yes, I see Brian is unmuting. Yes, Brian, go ahead. Brian, your mic is not working.
Can't hear you, Brian. Maybe try below the way. No, can't hear you. Just try remove the.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now I can hear you.
Earphones and speak into the phone. Maybe that might help.
Okay.
Yes.
So, is it advisable for somebody to do like a reconnaissance? Like you go beforehand, you familiarize yourself with the whole organization, like you just woke up, or like being a civilian before the day, or will it break your chances if people like the administration, the executive, see you and then see you the next day or sometime when you are to do the interview? Will it break it?
Yes, it can break or it can actually help you. Now, if especially if you do it the day before, you'll be utakumbukwa. So what you can do, you can go there like a week before. Like a week before, because let me tell you, what watakumbuka. But if you go there the day before, watakumbuka. Umse alikuwa hapa juzi na kauliza maswali. But if you go there, like a week or 2 weeks before, then utakuwa uko sawa, right? And then also, when you go there, go and as conspicuous as possible, right? Don't go shouting. Just go meet one person. Unajua? Alafu unajua as in uko tu chini ya maji. Unajua kwa sababu hapo unafanya reconnaissance mse. Uko chini ya maji as much as possible, right? But don't go immediately like the day before. That one you might be watu wanaweza kumbuka. Mse alikuwa hapa jana alikuwa na get information. But 2 weeks, 1 week you can actually go, but again enda chini ya maji, right? Alafu kitakata vizuri mnaweza na mkiwa wawili. Unajua sababu hata kumbuka, unajua mnaweza na mkiwa wawili like a week before, right? So unachukua tu best yako mnaenda, unajua mnaenda alafu pia unakumbuka high school vile tulikuwa tunarudia food, unaenda na jacket different, unaenda alafu baadaye unaenda kama umetoa jacket, unajua file kwa hiyo design mse. Kama ni nywele yako unaenda ukiwa na hiyo nywele, unacheki brand your hairstyle right now, unaenda ukiwa hivyo, lakini siku ya interview unaenda kama umenyoa mse. Unanielewa? Lazima uwe sniper mse. Right? So you can actually do that. It can help you. First of all, it can help you get acquainted with the place. Unajua? And ukienda itakuwa mara ya kwanza, utakuwa surprised. Hii place inakaa hivi, place inakaa hivi. So unaweza enda hapo ucheki venye place inakaa, unajua ucheki venye maofisi zinakaa, kitu kaa hiyo, ucheki venye reception inakaa, all these things, and then again it helps if you go with someone because attention itakuwa kwako peke yako, unajua mtakuwa watu wawili, so attention itakuwa divided into 2 people. And then also kuwa chini ya maji msee, usiende kama ni hairstyle, usiende na the same hairstyle. Unaweza enda venye huko alafu the next time unaenda ukiwa kipara, hata kumbuka ni wewe. And then also don't ask questions that will pertain to the to the job per se, ama to the role. Uliza swali as in kuwa tu chini ya maji msee, right? So it can help you, but kama uko chini ya maji itakusaidia, but usikue too direct. Yeah, so that can actually help you. You can go before, but again, be very discreet. How are you going there? Don't go alone. Don't ask questions, hey, by then niliona hii job my advertise, hebu niulize hii role inamaanisha nini? Don't ask that. Yeah, watajua. Yeah, so be very discreet on how you're asking those questions and also how you go there.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other question?
So. I don't see any. So at this point, it's just to say we're grateful. Thanks for coming through, Mike. Hope you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you, Jerome.
Awesome.
Yes, Ricky.
Wait, a question from Ricky. Have you ever failed in an interview?
Yes, I did. I've ever failed in an interview. Nilibaki kidogo tu hivi mse. So ni swali tu nilikuwa naulizwa. Niliulizwa nini? Methods of collecting data. Yani I overcomplicated it, right? And this was very simple. Swali ilikuwa methods of collecting data. Na hiyo ni swali rahisi sana. Mimi nika overcomplicate, hata sikumbuki nilisema nini, but what I should have said was things like questionnaires, surveys. Ndio tu tulisoma shule, lakini mimi niliona nika overcomplicate, nikasema sijui vitu gani. So yes, I have failed a few interviews, and one that I remember, and then I asked my lecturer, kuna hii swali niliulizwa kwa interview, lakini nilikajibu hivi. Akaniambia, hapo ndo ulianguka mzee. Unge tu direct to the point instead of trying to be smart. Unajua sometimes even in interviews you try to be smart. Unaulizwa swali, wewe unataka kujibu swali. Unajua kujibu swali yako, right? So again, be as simple as possible, right? Yes, I remember I failed an interview because I overcomplicated a very simple question. Methods of collecting data. Right? Sikumbuki nilisema nini, lakini nili overcomplicate. But the correct response would have been, questionnaires or surveys. Very simple. Yeah. So yes, I have failed in an interview. Ricky, don't worry. Hii mambo iko. It's life, mazi. Yeah, you win some, you get some. So yes, I have. But again, that failure, again, it was a good learning point, learning experience.
So.
Right.
I think, you shouldn't get in the way of your dinner. Asante sana.
So, thank you, Jerome, for the invite. Thank you, everyone, for your time and for your questions. Catch you on the next one. Jerome, we'll catch up soon. Ricky, big shout out to you for the 2 posters. Jerome, nitumie poster ya this sessions. Again, Ricky, I'm going to shout you out in LinkedIn again.
Yes,
all right. Thank you, guys. See you on the next one. Bye.
So cheers, guys. Thanks. Next session is next Tuesday with Juliet Wambui. Nishawambia, but anyway, it's going to be on career development and growth mindset once you join your career. She is an amazing person, also with Centonomy, and she's the head of the Career Hub program. So they're program for once you join, for people who are in careers. So asanteni sana.